Welcome back. 24 minutes past the hour. Time to go on the docket with John Patrick Dolan, our legal expert here. And John, we've got three big things to talk about. Let's kick it off with the one that's probably concerning most of the folks here in our valley. We have a very large gay population, and so people watching what the Supreme Court will do, because this current lawsuit from Michigan, Illinois, I forget the 5 states that are involved, this one that made it all the way to the high court finally. There were several suits like this before, but the district federal judges had knocked those out, so it didn't have to make it all the way to the Supreme Court. This one finally made it, and they're saying now when they rule, this will be the rule of the land now, right?
That's what we think, and it seemed like it was going to be a laydown, but it's not. Anthony Kennedy, who is the swing vote, asked some very serious questions about whether or not this should be a federal decision or whether it should be left to the states, and whether or not the Supreme Court should get involved in upsetting what has been traditionally a one-man, one-woman institution. Now, later on in the 2.5-hour oral argument, he seemed to come back to his equal protection, dignity arguments, but frankly, he threw him a little bit of a curve.
And so we know there's right now they're already saying it's going to be 4 one way and 4 the other, and Kennedy be the deciding factor. You obviously watch lots of briefs when it heads to the high court. What do you think is going to happen? Which way does Kennedy usually go?
Well, I think based on the last 2 opinions that he enunciated in this area, that it's going to be an equal protection, equal dignity argument, and he's going to vote in favor of the idea that states cannot ban same-sex marriage. But there is the alternative, which is that they say, look, we're not going to get into this and we're going to let the states decide. The problem is they've identified this as a constitutional issue, and so the Supreme Court really has to speak on the subject.
Right, and already 36 out of the 50 states allow it.
Yes.
Right? It's only 14 that don't.
Yes.
And there's 5 that are involved in the lawsuit out of that 14. So very interesting to see how it comes down this way. But you're right, what these states have done is they try to do a state amendment to their constitution.
Exactly.
Changing it. I was living in Indiana when Indiana tried this, and their governor there didn't work.
Right.
Got shut down by the federal appeals court. All right, well, we'll continue to watch it. How long do you think? Several weeks,
June.
Couple months?
June is when the opinion will come out.
Okay.
So that's
June.
what, 6 weeks, something like that.
All right, last time you were here, we talked about the recreational marijuana bill that may take place here in California. We've already had it legalized for years and years for medicinal purposes. Now we could become like Colorado. What's going on with that?
Well, there's going to be a ballot measure November 2016. The interesting thing to me is, because this is such a big money opportunity, there are actual law firms now that are defining pot divisions so that they can work on it, because there's really serious questions. The federal government and the state governments don't agree on whether or not marijuana should be legal. There's a question about whether or not you can use a bank for money that was garnered from selling marijuana, because the banks are controlled by the federal government. A lot of interesting legal issues, but frankly, I think we'll see the ballot measure 2016. Probably the anticipated or unanticipated effect will be a big turnout, because a lot of young people are going to turn out for this, and then maybe also vote in a way that might be predictable as far as the presidential election. So there's a lot going on there, and frankly, this initiative will be there.
Yeah, I would put it right up there. Same-sex marriage is a big debate for the nation in several states, and then you have recreational and medical marijuana being fought at the state and federal level as well, especially with the younger generation.
Right.
All right, John Patrick Dolan, if you need some legal help, legal advice, he's the guy to get a hold of. Put his information on the screen if we can there, guys. John Patrick Dolan.
Back there somewhere.
It's back there somewhere. Sometimes the computers don't always work as fast as we want them to work.
Indeed.
Appreciate you coming in.
A pleasure.
Okay, and going on the docket with us. 28 minutes past the hour, and we shall return in 2 minutes. Don't go away.